getting kind of off the Torah topics into other stuff. One of the things I really wanted to talk about was this idea of like cosmic consciousness, or the Akashic Records, or what the conspiracy people now talk about on the internet. But this idea that all our thoughts are one, and just by existing, we make a difference in the world. And by thinking something, I love Judaism doesn't have this idea that the road to hell are paved with good intentions. That's not, good intention counts in Judaism. If you have a good thought or a good intention, it counts. You get merit for it. It's not as meritorious as actually doing a good deed, because a good deed is worth much more. But having a good intention counts. Of course, it's a great thing. And so you should have a good intention in the world. And so it changes humanity like a pebble in a pond. Every good deed, every good thought is like a pebble, right? In a flat pond, you throw a pebble into it, and the ripples will eventually get to every extremity of the pond. And that's how you and all of us change the world, just by existing. Through our thoughts, through our actions, we change the world. We change ourselves, and we change the world around us. And one of the most interesting things I ever saw about cosmic consciousness, I was introduced through this after I had read like 14 to 18. I read a lot of the Bible. I pretty much memorized the Gospels in the Bible. Like, I could turn to a page and tell you what the whole page, not word for word, but everything on that page. And I read the Torah a lot, ironically. I kept starting the Bible and not reading it. And then later on, I read it book by book randomly. But I would want to just read it through, and I would get through the Torah, in Christian book, it's Joshua, and then flip back to the Torah, back to Genesis, Bereshit. So I was ironically reading the Gospels and the Torah at the same time, from like 14 to 18. And then about 18, I read Paul, and we're going to get into Paul. I really didn't agree that he echoed Jesus' own words, and I think he had a lot of different teachings. So I kind of, after reading all that, I fell away, and I wanted to start studying other religions. So I started studying everything. I think Taoism was the first. Tao Te Ching was the first. Very interesting book. The Tao of Pooh is what turned me on to that. Amazing book. But I was introduced to Be Here Now, which is from this guy Ram Dass. And that's the first time I ever heard about cosmic consciousness. I'm sure I'll do a video just on Be Here Now, my experiences with it, because I think it's a phenomenal book. I suggest everyone should read it. I don't get too caught up in, I'm an omnist, so I don't get caught up in like, it came from Hinduism or whatever, and it's pagan. I think truth is truth, and everyone has a bit of the truth. And you can argue pagans have Brahma, which is, or the Hindus, which is a oneness idea too. In a way, it's like a 3-in-1, similar to Christianity. And even that, we'll get into all that. I think most people recognize that at the end of the line, it's all just one. So I'm not going to hate on any of it, honestly. But this idea of cosmic consciousness, anyway, is that we all, like, each one teach one. Rasa would say each one teach one. There's like lessons, and as somebody accomplishes something, everyone now can draw from it. And I think the best example of this is in X Games. So these call them California Games, right? It's surfing, skating, BMX, snowboarding, all these different games that came mostly from California, or were let's say made famous through California. Because surfing obviously is from Hawaii, but it was the kids in Huntington Beach, the surfers that brought it from Hawaii, that really made it like renowned. And skating pretty much got big in California and took it to the next level, Z-Boys and all that. And BMX also pretty much came through California. Bikes were around for a long time, but BMX and racing and stuff came also from Southern California. And so snowboarding too, Burton and all those guys. Skiing's old school. Burton was a SoCal kid. So these California X Games, we look at tricks that took guys lifetimes to achieve, and now kids are doing them at like 10. It's like building the repertoire at like 10 years old. They're already doing these tricks that took guys 10, 20, 30 years to learn how to do. My favorite example all time of cosmic consciousness, and when you can add something to it, the whole world can draw from it, was the show called Built to Shred. And it was this guy who was like a carpenter, and he would go around building these crazy half pipes on people's backyards, like with transitions up to the roof of the garage and down, and amazing. It was a really fun show. But there was one specifically that I loved the most. It was a surf show. Obviously, I love the water the most, and I've talked about it before in some of the other videos. And he built a surf rail. So he welded together this big metal rail, and they put it in the surf in a shallow part, like on a sandbar. And these guys, I want to say it was like maybe 5 or 6 of them, trying to like rail slide basically on the surf rail, or 50-50, this surf rail out in the ocean. And man, they were eating it so hard, trying over and over and over, and riding the wave in, and just at the right moment hitting this rail and falling on their ribs and busting themselves up pretty good on the surf rail. And eventually one guy lands the surf rail, and then everybody within the next round, everybody, and I think they even mentioned, it wasn't just editing, like they mentioned how everybody but one of the guys landed on the next try. And the same with a lot of guys who pull tricks on the half pipe or on the street. Everyone sees it, and then within a week or two, they're landing the same trick. It's once somebody does something, we see it, or it's in the cosmic consciousness, it changes reality. There's an interesting experiment I saw a while back about some monkeys on an island that they were giving sweet potatoes to. The monkeys would eat the sweet potatoes, and then they started putting them in the sand and getting them sandy. And some of the monkeys figured out they couldn't eat it like that, so they would go out to the water and they would dip it and get all the sand off it and then eat it. And before anyone could even realize, he had taught the whole tribe, and all of these monkeys were doing it. But then they did the same experiment on another island, and somehow the monkeys, I want to say they immediately understood this. Within a day or something, they would take the sandy potatoes and dip them. It wasn't this whole process of having to teach them. They all could do it right away. So I think that's kind of how it works. And some people say it's the Akashic Records. Some people call it cosmic consciousness. But that we change the world just by existing and by accomplishing small deeds. So nothing you do and no deed that you do in this life is a small gesture, because it ripples through the entire world. It has an effect through the entire pond eventually. And so I think that's a really important concept as we go. I always would laugh at this. Is I will hope to help bring peace is my addition to the cosmic consciousness, is like to stick the landing. I always, when I was young and I had a bunch of inventions and different stuff, I put some of them up, and I'll put a lot more down the road. This is a lot of theoretical stuff, but I have hard inventions that I wanted to make a bunch of wealth and then help as many people as I could, just give it out and just helping as many people as I could. There's a great story of Bob Marley would sit, and I'll talk about this again later, but he would, when he wasn't on tour, he would have a day of the week he would sit in Jamaica and hand out chunks of money to people who had business ideas. So somebody want to buy a push cart for sodas, or a little stand to sell souvenirs, or whatever it was. And he would break them off a chunk, not $20 or $100. He would give them enough to start a little business even. And I love that idea that, we've never seen any of these billionaires or whatever just hook people up. And I always said that's the flip trick I want to land should I ever get money, because it just takes one person to really do it. And to really, we have all these people that Carnegie and stuff that at the end are big philanthropists and give all their money out, but in their lifetime they're so busy accruing more wealth than this. Do they ever? And they do good things, but do they ever look at the people like that and hook them up like Bob Marley did and try to like get people on their feet and help them find a business and help them find their talents? And like, I think that's the real key to it, is that landing the flip trick. So anything, and you just got to land it once and everyone else can do it. It's like, it just has to be landed. And I still have never seen it. I loved, they tried to get Elon Musk to do like end world hunger. And he was like, if you give me a good proposal, I don't ever really know what happened. I guess he didn't like the proposals because he never followed through. But I guess, I don't know the whole story. But that's the key. Everything you do, every good deed you do ripples through the whole universe. And if you can just land the trick, everyone will soon follow suit. And before you know it, there'll be 10-year-olds doing it. So that's my experience with cosmic consciousness and my kind of view of the whole thing. And so I wish you all like the courage to land your trick. Keep knowing how important you are, how much you matter, how every thought and good intention changes the world, and even how much more every action, good action you do helps to change the world and to bring good to it, to send the ripples out into the pond to all of its extremities, and to land your flip trick. Because once you land it, the whole world, all the kids after you will be able to do it too. And so as you work on yourself and you work on what you want to accomplish in this life, I wish you the strength, the courage, the skill to land your flip trick and to change the whole world. And so that's my blessing for all of you. And let's do this, people. Save humans.
Trying to be a better man. Oh yeah. Trying to do the best I can. Oh yeah. And I'm gonna do right thing. Do right thing. No matter what they want to say. And I'm gonna still fight for you. Still fight for you.